Hey, howdy. What's going on? Hey, Mom, PJ, all you guys out there. Well, listen, man. I don't get a chance to find text that reflects on the outside of the Bible, the letter, and the inside of the Bible, which is called the Spirit. We don't always get too many of these. We find that in Corinthians, we do. That's where we get the one, whereas God, being made minister of the New Testament, right? Not by the letter, but by the Spirit, for the letter killeth, and the Spirit saves lives. So we have the idea that we work at the outside of the Bible when we're doing the what we see, what we can recognize and make out with our eyeballs. That's the law. That's the rule, and we have to do what we're supposed to do. So that's the works. We know that, but then side by side, word for word, play by play, is this spiritual side woven beautifully right inside of this. And this is called the spiritual side. And what we learn is how to come alive, how to escape hell and find ourselves in the midst and in the presence of the Lord. Even though, we don't get, we don't have any memory of it, or, you know, this whole thing happens up there in your mind someplace, but you can't bring any of this stuff back home. But you can damn sure notice when you have those two sides of your brains connected as one. It's a lot of fun. I'm having some kind of interesting time with my life in this kind of weird transition where I'm more like a watcher. I'm more like, I'm like, what was that? What was that? How cool was that? That was cool as hell, or something. Because something, things like, it's just different. It's just different. And this, it's more like, how cool was that? And being in this place, I think I've been in this place for a really long time because I always have seemed to fall into good places. Things always seem to be just fine, and I've always believed that things will always be just fine. I have that. It's been a long time since I've had, say, my anxiety attacks. It's been a long time since I've had to hang around any drunk, mean motherfuckers. So anyhow, so man, you guys. So what I'm getting at is that we don't always get a chance to talk about the solid sides or the Bible where we have where our reference is that this side kills and this side saves. The idea is that the one that we go by as religion is the word, and it's made into a religion, and we have to go to a church, and there's a preacher and all that stuff. That's the stranger. That's the strange woman. That's the one that's riding on the back of the beast. That's that sign. But it's there. You're supposed to do it. It's the job. Doesn't this look funny? Doesn't that look funny? Me losing a piece of my ear. Can you tell that? Look, I'm crooked. It's like I'm Van Gogh. Van Gogh. Isn't that something? All right. Well, anyhow. There's an inside and outside to this story, and this is the way it works all the way through it. Because there's an outside of you, which is considered mankind. There's an inside to you, which is the God. This is the temple, all this stuff. You've got the kingdom, which is outside, the kingdom of man. It's an outside thing, and you got the kingdom of God, which is inside of you. That's what this is. God doesn't dwell in buildings outside in mankind. He dwells in places that weren't made by man, not by any hand of any kind. And it's you. This is in your brain. So you can be a Jewish person, but to be a Jew is to be someone who is inside. A Jewish person is someone who you recognize as something that's an outward thing, an outside thing. But to be a real Jew is someone who is inside, and this is someone who serves their Lord. And so you'll find that there's a whole mess of Jews that just never made it up there, you know. And there aren't a whole mess of real Jews go around. So that's what we're trying to fix here. Because once you've got the learnings, you got the little bit of how to make this thing come alive. You need, some people go, oh, you need more proof. Well, here I've got a little bit more. Let's try to keep it short. Here on Romans number 2. 2 is going to be talking about God's creation. And so everything is in duality and stuff like that. But anyway, so you will see that down here towards the end, it's pretty telling. The idea that if you are outside and the story that we go by, and we have to go to church over it, and you gotta go and, get your sacks, eat the food and drink the wine and do all that stuff. That's an outside thing to get bathed and have the anointments and stuff like that. Everything. This is an outside situation, which means it favors the flesh. This is where I get this, where I tell people that this is when you go this way, and it tells you, this is where this is why your feet, there's a lot of coolness about teeth and feet, about eating a lot of things and then stomping a lot of things. So those couple of things is what makes you're chewing up and you're spitting. You're dead. You're a graveyard. You're part of the graveyard system. In this Bible, God thinks of us as being dead when you don't have the connection to Him, when you don't have it. You're not following the law because that outside misleads you following something else, or you just don't have. You don't even know it. You just don't know it. And whatever you do is in vain. And this following that outside kills you. All right. So this is what goes on here. It says, number 23, thou that makest thy boast law, for the name of God is blasphemy. Okay, we can start at number 24. The idea is that for the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles. The Gentiles is the lower mind. It's the outside. It's not the priest. It's not the place. You're not in the temple. You're on the outside. Those are the Gentiles. That's where the blasphemy comes from. The people that follow the outside part of this. When you're doing the works, that's when you're blaspheming. And it says here, number 25, for circumcision verily profiteth, if thou keep the law. But if thou be a breaker of the law, thou circumcision is made uncircumcision. All right, so this circumcision and uncircumcision is just this idea of cutting off from the lower, which is not that physical cutting around the penis. It says what it is if you could have learned how to cut off the lower, that will profit you a good number of things. You're going to toss your nets over to the right side of the boat. This is where you profit from. That's if thou keep the law. But if you're a breaker of the law, then circumcision is made uncircumcision. It means your circumcision doesn't mean shit. All right. Number 26. Therefore, if the uncircumcisions keep the righteous of the law, that means men that don't have cut penises. If they still meditate and they follow the law and bring mother and father together by following the way, They are great. That's cool. All right. What does it say here? So, therefore, if the uncircumcision is righteous in the law, shall his uncircumcision be counted for circumcision? And shall the uncircumcision, which is by nature, if it fulfill the law, judge thee? For by the letter and the circumcision does transgress the law. So this is the idea of they're putting it against the letter. You know, the letter tells you that you've got to have this if you want to have this connection with God. Otherwise you're cut off, because they tell you that. They tell you that if those men are not circumcised by a certain time, they are cut off from the rest of the group. So this is like, hey, what about this? This is the law. This is the Pharisees trying to say, come on now, what is this here? And the guy was saying, he says, and this is number 27. Dun, 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 dun. No, not 27, number 28. For he is not a Jew, which is one outwardly, neither is that circumcision, which is an outward in the flesh. But he is a Jew, which is one inwardly. And circumcision is of the heart, in the spirit, and not in the letter, whose praise not of men, but of God. So this number 29 down here, 9, 10, 11, becomes God's creation. You're going to have the praises. This is praise for men, and then praises for God. You'll see that the letter represents the skin. That's praise from men. But if you can learn to read the spirit in the spirit, not the letter, whose praise is not of men, but of God. So beautiful. All right, so this has been a long time coming for me to actually see that, because now I have another reference to show people that, the difference between the two sides. One will kill you, and the other one will bring you alive. But it's just so interesting at the same time, because it's coming from the same Bible, this Bible. And remember Jesus coming around, I'm going to curse you. He's cursing us when he was a child. He came in, he'd curse, and then he'd make up for it later on. All right, now everybody bear fruit, stuff like that. This is the story of this, when you finish giving birth, when you've actually had your pains of being birthed, it says, you'll get over it. Once you find out you were tricked and everything, you'd be mad. This is why I told a friend that she would be astonished. One day when God gets his word in, his last word, he's going to trick you. He's going to bring you over to this other side. You're going to be like this, because you learned your fear of God. That's for damn sure. And he'll love that. He'll really be. But it'd be more like, please, please, please. All right? Because that'll get you in. That'll get you in. Certainly will. So anyways, there are two sides of this Bible, and I'm not going to go into that very more. And it'll help in every time we talk about it. But the two sides of the Bible, what you see and what you don't see. And what do we teach here on this channel? Teach you what you don't see. All right? But I can point at it and show you where this, look at this, look at that, check it out. All right. Anyways, I love you guys, and I hope the best for you. We'll be at it again, all right? All right, Sable, you hang in there, all right? You go chomping and doing all your blaspheming and stuff like that. You're doing just like you're supposed to do. And you know what I've just have been learning is that me too, I'm doing just what I'm supposed to. I'm going to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. I want you to be as dead as you can. I want you to just be one dead follower of Satan. You got to, because I'm on the other side of this. I'm a follower of God. God. I really like that. You'll have to understand, when you're following Father, you're not following God, But I want you to keep that up because that's your works. So I'm going to encourage you to continue. I'm going to help both sides out. But every now and then I'm going to just say something, see if I can't spark someone and say, hey, because I got a fish. I'm going to go fishing. But I'm seeing very well that, both sides have to be respected in some way. And I'm going to learn how to do that. All right. Because, for a good long time, I don't give a damn. I'd love to just see people change their minds and come aboard on this other side gracefully, So I'm going to be nicer. All right. I'm going to be nicer in my approach. All right. So anyways, I love you guys. And I'll be back later. All right. See you.